Wind carries the hiss of time fall across a ridge. A gray sky presses low. Sam Porter Bridges hunches under an impossible pack. Metal cases, resin, rations, strapped tight like a second spine. Each step tests the edge of gravity. Boots bite wet stone. The tether to his BB rattles against the suit. There's no music, only breath, the soft whir of the Odra deck, the metronome of footsteps. Out there, it feels like no one is left. And yet, as the fog thins, a ladder glints on a cliff face he hasn't reached before. Not his, someone else's. He plants his boot, grips the rung, climbs, and on the crest a sign flickers into being, "Keep on keeping on." The world remains empty, but the absence has seams. Someone has been here. He's not alone. Not exactly. Death Stranding builds a collapsed America out of rock, rain, and ghosts. An event, part metaphysical rupture, part ecological trauma, has torn the boundary between the living and the dead. BTs stalk the mist. Timefall accelerates decay. Settlements retreat underground and sever their lines to one another. Into this ruinscape walks a porter, Sam, a courier with a peculiar gift for returning from death, tasked to reconnect the United Cities of America via a chiral network that makes data travel faster than walking ever could, and yet cannot walk in anyone's place. The premise is both blunt and strange. Carry things from A to B, over and over. Check your balance, manage your straps, plot safe routes, and pray the slope is kinder than it looks. Some found it tedious, a desert of chores with prestige actors. Others found it disarmingly pure. The game courts that division. It resists the usual pleasures. It asks what it means to move, to maintain, to mend. Not to conquer, to carry. What is this game about? Beneath the plot, twists and neon jargon sits a stark, older claim. Human existence is relational from the ground up. We are always already with others, even when no one is around. In Martin Heidegger's vocabulary, that's Mitsein, being with, and it grows out of his larger account of Dasein, being in the world. Heidegger tries to describe what it is like to be the kind of being for whom its own being is at issue. He calls that being Dasein, literally being there. The point isn't a fancy label, the point is orientation. Humans don't exist like objects in a showcase. We don't stand outside the world and look at it from a distance. We wake up already inside it, loaded with habits, projects, and obligations. He calls that thrownness, Geworfenheit. Nobody consulted you about when, where, or to whom you were born. You arrive mid-sentence. Because we're in the world shows up first as a field of use and meaning, not as raw facts. Coffee cups are for drinking, roads are for traveling, phones are for calling or ignoring. A ladder is something you pick up and plant. We only notice these things as objects under glass, present at hand, when they break or refuse us. Otherwise, they are ready to hand, woven into our actions. A shoe rubs and suddenly it becomes an item again. A server goes down and you feel the light flicker in the room. Heidegger is insistent. This being in the world is never solitary. Mitsein, being with, isn't a later addition. We don't start alone and then go meet others. The others are folded into the structure of how things show up. Even when you're alone in a cabin, the chair is for guests. The phone prompts you to text. Your language bears the trace of a we. He calls the anonymous social pressure of this background the they. The they isn't exactly bad. It's the everyday. It's how you know to send thanks, to wear shoes, to say no worries when you mean I am worried. It can deaden you. It also keeps the lights on. Care, Sorge, is the name he gives to the underlying pattern. We are always already involved, concerned, taking care of tasks, of others, of ourselves. Our lives are networks of tending. No wonder the smallest interruption, an uncharged battery, a broken shoelace, can feel existential. It is. Think day to day. You hold a door, you check a map someone else wrote, you curse a route that once made sense, you post a review. You carry groceries across a parking lot in the rain, and the handles cut into your fingers and the car key sticks, and you laugh at nothing. These are not trivialities. They're the texture of being in the world. Death Stranding takes that texture seriously and turns it into play. The loop here is not just a metaphor for connection, it is a machine that makes being with tangible. You pick up a package, it's labeled with a name, a destination, a promise. From that moment, your body, your balance, your breath, your patience is calibrated around someone else's need. That's care, not the sentimental kind, the structural kind. Every tool you pull from your fabrication menu is ready to hand in that precise sense. The latter, once strapped to your back, is a future crossing waiting for its exact moment. The climbing anchor isn't an object to admire, it's an affordance you feel in your hip until you need it. And only when the cliff face denies you do you see it as a thing. The game teaches you to notice that shift. And it's never just you. The strand system quietly overlays another world on top of yours. Other people's roads, ropes, signs, generators, slipping into place the instant you connect a region to the chiral network. The first time you watch a newly online valley repopulate with footbridges and postboxes you didn't build, that's a lesson in Mitsein. These are strangers you will never meet, but their traces alter your possibilities. Your deliveries become literally lighter because someone else cared earlier, somewhere else. The world is co-authored. The like system is easy to mock because it sounds like a social media graft. But notice how it functions. You can't weaponize likes. You can't spend them. You can only give them away, sometimes by the hundreds with a long press when a ladder saves you from a plunge. A like is not currency. It's acknowledgement. The they reappears here as a benevolent pressure. When a worn footpath thickens into a road because many boots chose it, it's the anonymous we making a route. You can follow, you can resist. Either way, you are with them. Even alone in a storm, Sam is not solitary. BB rides on his chest in a pod, cooing when soothed, wailing when stress spikes. Bridge Baby is a grim invention in the fiction, but in the hand it works as a thread to life. BB reads BTs. BB calms when rocked. BB hums as the world quiets. The tether between Sam and the child is not merely narrative, it is a mechanic of attention. You watch your baby's stress. You shelter under a rock to let the pulse settle. Care takes the form of micro-rituals. Wipe the pod, tap the glass, rest. Being with becomes physical. Recipients matter too. The preppers, scattered in bunkers with cartoonish names, write back after deliveries. They send emails. They tell small histories about a lost musician, a sibling, a minor feud. Their faces, awkwardly composited onto holograms, become familiar. The game refuses to let them be mere order terminals. You learn who is picky about damage, who appreciates speed, who will gift a better exoskeleton if you keep showing up. These loops turn logistics into relationship. It's still a job. But the job is a way of being with. Notice how private spaces aren't fully private. In the private room, Sam resembles a man alone. Shower, toilet, sink, a bed that heals. But the room is threaded by the network. Outside the glass, medical staff adjust BB's incubator. Sam is pinged by HQ with new instructions. Posters and ads cling to the surfaces like reminders from an economy that refuses to die. Even isolation comes with its infrastructure. The game refuses pure solitude as an aesthetic. The alone here is always already qualified. For all this gentle insistence on connection, the world of Death Stranding is built from broken ties. The Death Stranding event is a metaphysical name for a social fact. The structures that made being with possible have failed. Cities retreated, highways crumbled, trust thinned. BTs, those spectral figures tethered to the dead, haunt thresholds. Rivers, road cuts, marshes, where movement slows. They are not just enemies, they are concentrations of paralysis. Get caught and you're dragged into a black swamp of grasping arms. Trigger a void out and the landscape is scarred forever. The game literalizes the fear that one misstep in a brittle system can wipe the map. Timefall makes entropy visible. It ages structures to ruin in minutes. Packages corrode. Vehicles melt. The rain forces you to keep moving, to maintain, to mend. It's a superbly clear image of what all infrastructure faces. The world isn't just a backdrop. It pushes back. To hold a network together, you must keep working against time. Build a safe house and watch its durability tick down. Pour materials into a generator. Return to find it in tatters. Connection is not a state. It is a practice, and practices fail. Characters embody tier points in the weave. Mama is tethered to a dead child who never stopped moving. An impossible BT infant caught between worlds. The umbilical cable literally running through her body. Her story ends in an untying that feels like mercy and loss intertwined. Cliff, the soldier that haunts your return from death, is a father amputated by a system. His son repurposed as equipment. His own life cut so the machine can keep running. These aren't just tragedies. They are failures of being with. Bonds distorted or severed by institutions, by catastrophe, by the very networks meant to connect. The chiral network itself is an ethical risk disguised as a solution. Reconnecting it brings the comfort of shared resources. Structures phase in, data flows, but it also exposes people to surveillance and violence. The terrorists of Homo Demens exploit it. Mules, delivery addicts, obsess over cargo like it were a drug. Bandwidth limits and chiral contamination become plot points and constraints. The network is both lifeline and liability. The game is honest about that doubleness. It rewards your roads and asks you to notice what roads invite. Entropy in Death Stranding is not only physical decay, it is social drift. Preppers who refuse to join do so for reasons: distrust, trauma, stubborn sovereignty. You can persuade some, others stay off the grid. Structures you build decay even as you sleep. Players disappear from your strand contracts. The landscape erases behind you. You keep carrying anyway because the alternative is to let the world harden into islands. The ending keeps the knife in the wound. Yes, the network is restored. Yes, Sam reaches the Pacific. But the revelation about Amelie as an extinction entity reframes the entire effort. The drive toward connection nests inside a larger cycle of necessary endings. Species end. Systems stop. Closures are part of the world's grammar. Sam's choice, refusing to sacrifice BB, choosing a single bond over a logic of grand solutions, doesn't cancel the cycle. It affirms a different way of standing inside it. The last images are not triumphal. They are domestic, precarious, real. Why does this matter beyond the melancholy beauty of a game you may or may not enjoy playing? Because the problem it stages, connection is necessary and always at risk, sounds like our century. We have networks that promise presence, feeds, messages, a global supply chain humming until one link snaps. We've lived through spaces emptied by crisis and then repopulated by the smallest gestures of care. A bag on a doorstep, a shared spreadsheet, a neighbor's ladder angled over a fence. The difference between a like that soothes the ego and a like that marks gratitude for a well-placed bridge is not semantic. It's structural. The former is performance. The latter is cooperation. Death Stranding refuses the easy side of either romance. It doesn't sneer at maintenance, it sanctifies it, gently. And it doesn't pretend that maintenance saves the day. Roads crack. People withdraw. Political life, if we can use that phrase for bunkers connected by holograms, does not flourish just because the wire glows again. The game steps past didacticism and sits with an older intuition, that human life is a choreography of tending against decay, that our projects are limited, and that their meaning is not canceled by their limits. We recognize ourselves in this because the ordinary has become philosophical again. To stock a shelf, to deliver medicine, to check on a friend, to leave a tool where a stranger will find it. These small acts revealed their gravity recently. Death Stranding captures that gravity with science fiction gloss. It turns errands into care, not by preaching, but by making you feel the weight of a box in wind. Back on the ridge, the rain slackens. Sam shifts his weight and the pack settles like a creature catching sleep. A rope someone left bites into his glove. A generator hums ahead. A sign nods him forward. None of this is permanent. The time fall will eat the rope. The battery will drain. The sign will flicker out. He will replace them, or someone else will, or not. The point isn't victory. It's participation. Heidegger's claim that we are being with finds concrete life in these motions. Connections do not abolish solitude. They texture it. Being with does not erase fragility. It traces the lines along which things break and can be mended provisionally. Death Stranding is poignant because it understands both sides, the necessity of the network and the certainty of its fray. You move anyway. You shoulder the box. You fix the strap. You leave a ladder for a stranger you'll never meet. And when their silent thanks pings your suit, you smile at no one. Keep on keeping on. Not optimism, not resignation. A practice. A way of saying yes to a world that will not last, and yes to the others who move through it with you.